All right, hello, welcome to Driving in Korea. My name is Joe. Doing my commute, talking about food and travel in Korea. Forgive me, I am a little glazed eyed. It's been one of those weeks. I haven't been doing a driving in Korea this week. It's been unusual. Doing new routes, new schedules. I don't want to be doing this while doing an unfamiliar route. That's how accidents happen. Well, hello, happy times. We are now finally starting to rain here, which in Korean also means it's a good time for having pancakes and makgeolli. Savory pancakes. A lot of people will say pajeon, and pajeon is great. I'm a big fan of nokdujeon bindaedok, which is mung bean pancake. I think I talked about that in my first one, about how there's no flour in that. It's just beans and other stuff, but beans like bean sprouts, sometimes some meat, some pork in it. And it's great to have during this time of year. I crave it. It's also that one time of year I will eat samgyetang. It's the ginseng chicken soup. You know what? It took me like 3 years before I actually went for samgyetang. Mostly because I think Korean food is so exciting, has so many exciting flavors that a chicken soup just didn't excite me. And I do like the flavors of samgyetang, but these days the reason I don't really eat samgyetang is I don't like. It's basically I'm just picking bones the entire time. Last time I went to Tosokcheon, which is where all the tourists go to, and it's not the best, but it's not bad. Last time I went, it's been a few years since I've been. Yeah, my soup was like lukewarm by the time I deboned my chicken. But I do like the little shot of like ginseng soju in samju. Yeah, on my side, I'm going to be taking a little 1 week vacation. I don't really get to take many vacations. I'm going to make myself take a vacation. Closing down tours, of course. Getting complaints that I closed down tours, but it's really hard for a people pleaser like me to get used to the idea that I can't please everyone. I always want to. We're going to try. I'm not sure if this is going to happen. We might have to cancel it. I want to do it though. We were planning to do a road trip all around South Korea this next week, but it looks like I'm looking at the forecast and it's saying rain like all the time. But it's been predicting rain almost every day for the past month, and I bring out my umbrella and it never rains. So I don't know how much to trust that. But EJ, she's worried that it'll be like typhoon weather. Typhoon, like, yeah. Which, yeah, it's not fun. I mean, for her in Jian, it's not that much fun to go traveling in the rain. What can you do? I mean, for me, I'm traveling for food. Really want to go to some parts of Korea I usually don't go to and have regional cuisine I normally don't eat. Really just want to get out of Seoul for a bit. You just need to get out of Seoul. Love Seoul, but you need to get out of it. One thing I do want to go to, I thought I did get a request to talk about my experience on Anthony Bourdain. I'm a little nervous about talking about that too much publicly. For one thing, I've already written most of it out on a blog post right before the show came out. So if you go to zenkimchi.com or if you Google Zenkimchi Bourdain, something like that, that's a good detail of my experience as fixer and consultant for the show. When I posted it, Anthony Bourdain, he tweeted it out. But I'm still recovering. That was 5 years ago, and I still got PTSD from that experience. I mean, it feels like my whole life in Korea was leading up to this point, and then I got it, and I really felt I felt like the dog that caught the bus. When it was done, I said to the director, I feel like Inigo Montoya at the end of Princess Bride. It's like, what do I do now? Because that was kind of what everything was leading towards. But it was a very stressful project because it was a very intense production. I'll tell a little bit of stuff behind the scenes. I can't say too much about behind the scenes because I did sign non-disclosure agreements about a lot of things, but mostly those non-disclosure agreements were set up so that I wouldn't say, hey, Anthony Bourdain's in town, and people would come and ruin the shoot. Some people didn't follow those NDAs because people did find out. Anyway, so yeah, what had happened was Nari, who you might know as a Korean American sidekick, amazing person. I loved her on the shows. She contacted me in September 2014. Emailed me, and I was like, I was squee all day. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that they contacted me about this. To start working on the show. I was in touch with the director and Nari, and then we would do conference calls. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning to do conference calls with New York City, and we would do all these calls, and we work out the layout of the show. Now, a lot of people complain, especially when it was Parts Unknown, that, oh, he could have eaten better foods than that. Well, that's not the focus of Parts Unknown. I noticed the further down Tony got with his TV career, he was not as interested in food as he was with culture and people and telling stories. I'm not sure if I don't know. I don't think I was the only one who noticed that further down the career, food was not as center of his life as it was before. The original Cook's tutorial was all about food and eating. At first, eating the most exotic stuff possible, and then with no reservations, it started to become a little more of thought pieces. And then Parts Unknown, it was using food as a gateway to talk about culture. And so they pointed that out to me, as they said, we gotta think of stories for each segment. It's not really just about the food. If it was just about the food, we would have gone out for gaejang, dakgalbi, some of the greater food, some of the best favorites and things you really want to show off that would have gone nuts over. But that wasn't the point. Now, I did make sure I really wanted budae-jjigae. A lot of people are upset that budae-jjigae was on the show, the army base stew. But for me, I felt that A, great story about the history of budae-jjigae, and B, it really hit. I've been following Bourdain since 2000. It would hit a sweet spot. It was exactly the type of story he loves to tell about how poverty, desperation creates great food. And Budae-jjigae is a 20th century version of that. It's a perfect, it's fusion. It is East meets West cuisine. Great story behind that. And it's delicious. It's 4th of July in a bowl. That worked. So we spent a month putting together the show. There's so many elaborate things involved. So many people to coordinate. Locations to set up. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that it's like the Truman Show. We would set everything up and Tony just walks onto the set and does his thing. But the people that appear on camera are vetted. Not only vetted, but screen tested. I was going around screen testing people. I mean, I record video on my phone and send it to New York. And that's how that was done. Getting locations was hell because Koreans had not heard of Anthony Bourdain, didn't care who he was. He wasn't a Korean, you know, they only know Korean shows. They only care about Korean shows. A lot of them do. They weren't Tasty Road. So they didn't care. So they didn't want them there. A lot of places. There's one place, Hanchu, that's famous in Gangnam for its fried chicken, and people really wanted to film there, and they were open about it. This is a typical thing that would happen to us. Is we would go down there, and first we contact them, and then hold on, I need to get over. First we contact them, and then we actually head down to the place in person and start talking, and then the team wants to look at the kitchen because they want to show the food getting cooked. And one of the owners at Hanchu says, I don't want foreigners in my kitchen. So we walked out. That was what we got a lot, is that they didn't want foreigners in their kitchens. They didn't want foreign TV shows. That was the problem. Places would cancel at the last minute. And that was the headache of that as well. So it was a scramble. A lot of the stuff was we just had to, whatever we could come up with at the last minute. We had people that was supposed to appear that canceled at the last minute. That's detailed in my blog. But we had everything set up. We even had like an airsoft segment. Airsoft is like paintball with BB guns. And we had the segment on a Korean War battlefield with some hobbyists. Some of them are lots of ex-military or current military playing. And we were going. The plan was to do that and then do an outdoor barbecue, or do the Budae-jjigae segment there. But after the team landed in Korea, which is 3 days before Tony landed, they came with the news that he'd injured himself while doing his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he couldn't do a lot of the stuff that we had planned. So everything that we meticulously planned for a month, they shook the Etch-a-Sketch, and everything we set up got erased. Now, usually when I was doing fixing for shows, and I did lots of fixing for the Travel Channel, National Geographic, Nat Geo TV. Usually, most of the job of the fixer is before they arrive in town. Everything's already set up, and then after the team is landed and they're in their hotels, most of our job is done as fixers. That's how it's usually been done. In fact, sometimes I would hang out with the crew while they're filming. They're like, Joe, we don't need you anymore. Your job's done. Okay. I want to just hang out and watch. It's kind of fun. TV's fun. So because of this, for some reason, fall 2014 was when Western media was just converging, food media was just converging on Korea, because all these other shows started contacting me. Gizzy Erskine in the UK, Gary Mehigan in Australia. So since most of my job with Bourdain was already pretty much done by mid-October, and so that's the thing, we were filming on the last week of October for Bourdain. Most of my stuff was done by the mid-October. I said, okay, well, I can help you guys with your projects. And on those projects, I was actually appearing on screen. Bourdain, I wasn't, because they only wanted Korean-looking people on screen. But the other shows, they're like, whatever, you're like, you know what you're talking about. We want you on screen. So they wanted me on the show. So I was like, okay, well, I can take that, because the Bourdain project, my part would be done. And I asked the rest of the team, so we had a team of fixers. And we had like the consultant team that was me and Sue and Marie. We had a good team, and Simon Lee. We all set up everything beforehand, and then the other team was kind of more the ground team. They would deal with the logistics of getting them to those locations and getting the we need to hire a local sound guy, local crew members. But then the Etch-a-Sketch was shaken, and we had to start all over again. And that gets me, because I'd already committed to these other shows. So I was like, oh shoot. So Sue was running around all the time, trying to get locations. She was so overworking herself that she sent me a picture, and that was her, and it was a picture of her arm with an IV in it. She was in the hospital. She had worked herself so hard. She dehydrated herself. I had to rush. I had to do one segment in Jeonju for Gary Mehigan. I had to work around Gizzy's schedule. I tried to move that around. Plus, on top of that, it's the peak season for my tours. Peak season for the Dark Side tour. October, Halloween. You know, I make most of my money for the year that month. So my plan was, okay, you guys all set up. And I also had a day job. I mean, fixing for shows, they don't pay that well. They only paid us like, what, $2,000 for the entire 2 months we worked on the show. I mean, this isn't a third world country. This is a rich country. That $2,000 ain't going to go that far here. So we were doing it for the love. So there's no way you could have done that full time. You had to take day jobs. So we all have day jobs, and we're doing this on the side. It's impossible to be a dedicated fixer here. It just does not pay well, and Bourdain paid more than most operations. So I had to go do my day job, I had to do my tours, and I had to go to Jeonju and do that one segment for Gary Mehigan, which was 2 nights, one night, overnight, and rush back to Seoul. And I had private tours during that period. Everything was already booked. And then at the same time, I'm trying to fix what the disaster that was happening with Bourdain. And on top of that, I mean, yeah, that's also when I put together these projects. I put together like an Avengers. I'm the Nick Fury, putting together people with complementary talents. My thing was I kind of know which restaurants are good for this, which places are good for this. Sue's talent. Sue was good because her Korean is way much better than mine, and she's way more persuasive than I am. She's a very good people person. Marie, similar thing. Simon, similar. But there were times when none of them were available, and I couldn't come in to fix these problems because my Korean level skills, even if my Korean level skills were up to par, they would not have agreed to anything. The venues would not have agreed to anything because they don't trust someone who looks like this. That was a problem we had with a few places, and the only way we got through, even with Koreans, trying to persuade. It was only Sue, because she's really good at this, that was able to persuade them to go along with the show. I mean, that's how difficult it was dealing with this. It got to be really frustrating. There was one segment where they were really not happy with the sound person that was supplied to them, and I said, hey, I know someone. I found someone. They said that was the best person they ever used that I got for them. There were some people that ended up on the show that I warned against, but they did it anyway, and I was like, okay, well, and then it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, but I got the blame for it, I think, even though I warned them against doing that. Anyway, so the crux of it was doing the show. Everything was set up, and then partly because of Bourdain's injury, others were just personal things, like things didn't fit the director's aesthetic. He didn't want to shoot in any place that had exposed brick, which killed a lot of really old school restaurants because they all have exposed brick. It really threw everything. Everything was just thrown out the window, and we were just scrambling to the point it wasn't until the last 3 days of shooting that we were able to be with the crew and with Anthony Bourdain himself. By then, enough of our scrambling had been done. Still, final day of shooting when he was there was still a last minute cancellation, but we learned by then to have backups. After that, I don't do fixing anymore, especially if I don't appear on camera, because it just doesn't pay well, and it's way too many headaches to deal with. Being a fixer is really tough. You do it for the love. You do it because you love the industry. You love TV. You love doing TV and magazines and stuff, and you really want to share your passion for your country, where your town is. And I mean, it's fun meeting your heroes. It is really fun. I would say I've met quite a few of my heroes. Anthony Bourdain, Andrew Zimmern, George Takei. I've met a good Eric Repair. They've all been pretty good. I've been lucky in the sense that I've not met any asshole celebrities. They've all been pretty good. They've all been great people, personable people. Dude, Eric Repair gave me a big bear hug at Guangzhou Market. That was pretty funny. He was playing tricks on me too. Tricked me into eating some pig lung. But okay, so I was asked. So basically, this is what happened with Bourdain. Was everything was set up and prepared, and then right before they said action, everything we prepared was thrown out the window, and we had to do 2 months work in 2 days time. And I was getting just random requests. I was in the middle of a private tour with this lovely couple from Japan, and we're enjoying tea in a hanok, and I did a call from them, and they said, oh, we're going to do a scene in a PC bang, and he's going to order jjajangmyeon, black bean noodles. I'm like, okay, PC bang, really? That's kind of like there are none left. That's 2005. This is 2014. There's nothing left. Okay, we're going to do that. And they said, okay, we want you to find us a professional video gamer, computer gamer, like a professional StarCraft player. I'm like, you realize I'm the food guy, right? I pushed my contacts. I found someone. In the end, I ruined a contact. That's another thing about being a fixer, is the thing is such a scramble. And the TV shows, the projects, really don't give a crap about your relationships with them. It's all about it's slash and burn. It's a slash and burn approach. But that's the nature of the business. I mean, people say Hollywood and all that is it's a brutal business. It's brutal. The competition's fierce, and they only care about getting their project done. They don't care about what they leave behind. So I burned through a lot of contacts for that. I hurt a lot of people in the sense that when I was setting up people to appear on the show, they do they go out of their way to do the screen test. Then it looked like they were going to do these segments. Some of them canceled their vacations to do the segments, and then the day before the segment they would cancel the segment, and I had to go up and contact them and say, "I'm sorry, man, they canceled the segment. I'm sorry, you canceled your vacation for that." Yeah, so I burned a few people. And that's another reason I don't do this anymore, is I spent so much time building my friendships with all these people. And they're not just contacts. They're not people I use. They're my friends. And I hurt a lot of friendships doing that show too. And so it's been a little PTSD. I've only watched the show twice since it aired. Strained my relationship with Sue, I think, because after that Sue and I have only met 3 times since then. We were very close before then, really good friends, close, I mean super close, like shoulder crying buddies. And then they put such a strain on our relationship that, I mean, we love each other. We haven't talked to each other in a while. I mean, we still keep in touch with each other, but we have not actually physically met with each other for coffee or beer or anything. Only seen each other maybe 3 times in the past 5 years. There's one prominent expat who will not talk to me ever again. And I feel bad about that. And some others. Some others I had to repair those relationships, but they're scarred. So if you want to go into fixing, as in doing TV shows, be prepared for that. Yeah. Well, as Forrest Gump says, that's all I got to say about that. Alright, well, I've about reached my destination, guys. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make this a downer. I mean, I'm so happy I did it. It's one of those things, you're just so happy you did it. You never want to do it again. And it might be one of the, I mean, who knows? We'll see how my life goes, but it is one of the most crowning achievements of my life, was working on that show. That's a very sad life. And like that, when you see the sausage made, you don't want to eat the sausage. So after doing that, I didn't want to watch the show anymore. I didn't want to watch any food travel shows anymore. Same thing with my bad experience on MasterChef Korea. I did not watch food competition shows anymore. Just don't watch any of that anymore. Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time.